Hello and welcome back to My Own Worst Enemy. I'm Mike and we are back and we are about halfway through, and I say halfway through, still amazed. Normally at turn 8 I would not be saying I'm halfway through, I'd be saying oh, one more turn left and and the game's over. But no, we are on turn 8 and I feel like we stand a really great shot at actually getting all the way to turn 16. With the Liberty Bell sitting at 1. As you'll remember, we had three straight rolls of having Congress in flight, and that's unheard of in this game. And then the other unheard of thing that's influencing this is I've had no major campaigns yet. I think that's probably also a big factor in this, and some other lucky dice rolls. But we're doing good, so let's keep trying here and see what we can do. As always, I'm going to start with just a couple of corrections, some oversight errors that I made. I'm going to point those out now. They're not they're pretty simple ones. We'll start with the first one, and it does concern Congress. You'll recall that they did return in the last turn, so they rolled for where they would go back, and they went into New York. And in my excitement, I put them in New York, but I did not follow through on what else happens when Congress is reconvened. So not only did Congress go, we rolled for New York, and that's where they went back to, but as soon as they do that, where the state they convene in, the state's loyalty gets reduced by 1 automatically. So New York really should have lost 1 more loyalty point. So we're going to bring them down to 9 to reflect that. And then also another thing that happens is, I'm going to look at the rule book here, make sure I'm not forgetting this. So another thing that I forgot to do was move the Vermont marker to the pro-British box. So that's over here. And I don't remember if we've moved this yet or not. I think we've had a check or two with random events, but it's going to go to pro-British now. That's because Congress convened in New York. That's why this went to pro-British. And then also because it was New York, we add +1 loyalty to Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Carolina, which this will be good for us because you'll remember that our loyalties were pretty low early on with Virginia and Pennsylvania especially. So this is going to be good for us. These will go up 1 each. And Carolina goes up 1 more. So they're getting back up towards their maximum there. That's good. And that's it for what I should have done when I reconvened Congress in New York. So that is taken care of. And the other thing was when I was going through the state loyalty adjustments and I hit Carolina, I said, well, there's units of both sides in there, so no change. But remember, there are units of both sides, but remember that Hessians being in the state automatically reduces loyalty of that state by 1. So where Carolina just went up 1, it'll come back again down to 10. So forgot that the Hessians were there, so that will take care of that. And then one other thing I did, and you saw this actually in the last turn because I realized it kind of as I did it. The French fleet started in the Caribbean down here, and when I went to do the French intervention, I, for whatever reason, thought the French fleet was in Boston. And there's actually a difference on the die roll for French intervention depending on where the French fleet is located. So really, I rolled for the French to intervene, and I rolled a 4, but they would only intervene on a 5 or a 6, being that they were in the Caribbean. And so really they shouldn't have intervened, but they did, and we're going to let that stand. It's an error in the rebels' favor, so I'm just going to let that one stand, but just be aware that it's a different check versus where the French fleet is located. And they were in the Caribbean, not Boston. I grabbed the French army thinking they were the French fleet and brought them down, but it wasn't. So, and one other thing to note, this was pointed out to me over at Board Game Geek by one of the game designers, Wes. And he noted that now that we are actually to the point of where we're rolling 3 D6s for random events, this invasion of Quebec can no longer happen. So it's impossible for there to be an invasion of Quebec at this point. So these units really have no reason to sit here in Quebec. You can move them out of Quebec. There's no abandoning state check here for Quebec. So we can now take these units and bring them south. So I probably will do that because we're going to need all the units we can get to hold on to what we've got, I think. So I'm going to keep that in mind. Thank you to Wes for pointing that out. That's something, like I said, I tend to stick these units up here and worry about them through those initial early turns and then just sort of forget about them. But you really don't want to do that. If you can bring them out, by all means, get them out, get them into the battles. So I believe that's it. Thank you for the people who are watching and responding and catching me on these errors. It's a good learning tool for people that are watching these videos to learn. So I really do appreciate that and appreciate you watching. So let's get started with turn number 8. And it is late 1778. And this is this will be a turn with the hurricane season. So we need to remember that. So the first thing we do is always receive our money. This is turn 8. We get 10 pounds. We already have 1, so that's going to bring us up to 11 pounds to spend when we get there. And now we follow the news instructions for turn number 8. Let's go see what that says. And note that the current target state is, in fact, still Pennsylvania. So I believe we're looking pretty good in Pennsylvania for right now. Could change, but we'll see. We're going to try to keep that target state and keep that Liberty Bell right where it's at. So, so the news event, Lord Jermaine's new plan. And let's go to that event. It says the Colonial Secretary lays out a different plan for victory. I don't know why. I would just leave things as they are right now because we're doing pretty good. But whatever. He's got a different plan for victory. By Americanizing the war, he's going to raise loyalist units under their own officers. So what does this mean for us? We get to add 1 gold band loyalist foot unit to our force pool. 1 gold band loyalist foot unit. So there's only 1 of those left. It's got to be this one. Whoops, I'm turning him around. It's got to be this one. So we're going to drag him down to our force pool. Looks like we already have 1 there. And we get to bring out a white band British foot. And we have none left in the units out of play box. And I think that's because, if you remember earlier, we lost this guy due to an event. So that kind of hurt. And we won't get to bring him in now. He was permanently removed from the game early on. And then finally, we get to add 1 gold band Hessian to the force pool. And I'm going to grab this one, who's a little bit stronger in the wilderness and in towns and forts. And we'll put him in there. And that leaves us with just these units left. And there's it's like one of the cause units, a privateer, and Thomas Jefferson. Not much left in the units out of play box. So we are getting pretty far along in the game, which is good. All right. And now that takes us to the Smugglers Phase. And I'm going to remember here that if I leave one of my ships, I can shatter the French fleet. Doesn't cost anything to do that, other than, you know, you don't get to use one of your ships. And we already have 1 in harbor, and I think that's because we had a random event where we lost one of our ships through some other event taking place in the world. So we only have 3 to shatter the French fleet. That means I'm going to have to leave one of these 3 behind, or not really behind, but show that he is targeting the or shadowing the French fleet. So I'm going to think about that if I really want to do that or not. So I'm just looking at the rule on shadowing the French fleet because I couldn't remember what happens to that unit if we do shadow the French fleet. And basically what you do is you'll just take the marker and you'll put it on top of the French fleet to show that it is shadowing. So with that said, I've got 4 strength and 2 3 strength units to try to stop the influx of continental armies. So the current target state is Pennsylvania. Fortunately, there's no privateers in Zone 1 or Zone 4, which would bring those continentals into Pennsylvania. There are still 2 in Massachusetts Bay feeding this huge army that's forming up here. And there is 1 in Zone 5 and 1 in Zone 6. So what I'm going to do, I am going to use the Strength 4 to go to Zone 6. And I'm going to use another one of these guys to go to Zone 5. Now this one, I'm thinking I'm going to shatter the French fleet. I'm also thinking I could peck away at what's going on up here in Massachusetts Bay and try to gain a little more control over this map. But I think I am going to use him to shadow the French fleet. So we're going to put him here, showing that he is shadowing the French fleet. And that's going to be our... oh, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Getting ahead of myself. I should have placed 2 smugglers before I did all that. So let's bring those back. Bring this back. Again, I'm so eager to start this game because it's turn 8 and we are doing so good. So, but one thing at a time. So we're going to take a smuggler and we're going to place him. And remember, we do that by rolling a d6 and see what season he goes into. We roll a 5, so he's going to come down to Sea Zone 5, Chesapeake Bay, which feeds into Virginia. So now we're going to go back to what I was doing before, and that's place our ships. So I'm still going to take the Strength 4 and go into Sea Zone 6. I'm still going to take one of my Strength 3s and go into Chesapeake Bay. But now I have this additional smuggler in Sea Zone 5. So this makes it tougher to decide. And I know your people are screaming, "You've got to pay for these! You've got to pay for these!" I will. I promise you. I'm gonna deduct the cost of using all these from my my coffers over here. I know I forgot that once, but I will pay for these. So anyway, I need to decide: do I want to attack this smuggler, or do I want to actually shadow the French fleet? And I remember that the French fleet could bring French intervention into these battles. I know the French army is up here in the prisoner war box for now, but I think he's about to come back out once we go through that. Well, actually, no, he may not. He's not going to come back out. There's no British units up here. Huh. Interesting. So I didn't realize that. So he can't come out through amnesty. Well, he could too. No, that's how he's coming out. Right? Because you remember, if there's amnesty, if any side has more than 5 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they have 6. So any side has more than 5 units. Anything above 5 can come out. And I think, I'm going to grab the rule book here. I think you have to give preference to the French army if you're doing that. So I'm going to turn, this is in the 7-0 ground phase rules. Amnesty, consult the prisoner of war box. If either side has more than 5 units in the box, those excess units, player's choice, are placed in their respective force pools. Now, this is interesting because it doesn't say anything about giving preference to the French army here, and I know I know that there are places where you do give preference to the French army when making decisions like this. Well, this is paroles. So you see, if you're paroling, no, okay, here we go. At the very bottom of the page. When choosing rebel units for amnesty or parole, the British player must give priority to the French army, the Arnold Continental, and the H. Lee Continental in that order. When the French army is released, place it in Boston. So I'll have no choice. The French army will come back out and will go to Boston, which means the French could intervene here. And remember, the French, to intervene, it'll have to be a battle in one of the blue dye counties. So I still have to make this difficult decision then. Do I want to shadow the French fleet, or do I want to attack this smuggler? I'm still going to... This is a tough one. because that French army is very powerful. And it's only a -1, I believe, to the die roll if you shadow the French fleet to keep them from intervening. Still, that could mean the difference between success and failure, as we all know, if we play board games. Yeah, I'm going to actually shadow the French fleet. So let's do that. So that is the placement of my ships, my frigates. So I just spent 1, 2, 3 pounds, not 4, because remember, if you shadow the French fleet, you pay nothing. You just follow the French fleet. So that's at no cost. So it's 3 pounds that I just spent. So that'll take us from 11 down to 9. Sorry, down to 8. So that should be the smuggler phase. And of course, we rebase the French fleet. Here it's telling us that it's going to go to Boston if it is a hurricane season turn, and it is, and that's noted by either the little red square with the circle in the middle or my hurricane symbol here on my game track map. So French fleet to, I said Boston, right? So they're going, they want to stay out of the Caribbean. So remember they're shadowed. So these are now in Boston. And it's going to want to stack those because that's a snap point. So we'll just leave it like that. We know the French fleet's there. And now we attack. And you can tell I'm getting out of order here because I'm so used to playing the game without stepping down the sequence of play. It's hard to force myself to come back and step through it, but I'm going to try. So now we're going to get into the actual attack part. And then, of course, the shadow part we've already done. So let's just resolve our attacks that we have coming. And no attacks until we get to the Chesapeake. And this is a strength 3, so I'm going to roll 1d6 and try to roll 3 or less to get rid of one of these smugglers. And I'm going to roll the red die. Hopefully we'll have a better outcome with it. And we roll, well, we don't. We roll a 6. So as Graves comes back into harbor. And now we have two smugglers in the Chesapeake. That's not good. And Hal is going to try to get rid of this privateer. Well, it's a privateer, strength 2, so that he can shoot first. And on a 2 or less, he defends himself and sends and sends our Hal right back to harbor. So, ouch. Okay. I'll clear these, and so that wasn't so great. All right, we've seen that before though, right? We had a heck of a time early on with some of these smugglers. We shadowed the French fleet, and we go right into the British ground phase. We are not in a winter attrition turn. It's not winter, not one of the blue squares turns. So we go to amnesty, and so amnesty is when we can bring out anything above 5 for a side, and here it's all rebel units, and there are 6 units. 5 are Continentals, 1 is that French Rochambeau army. So as I just read, the rules state that the French get priority here, so the French unit gets to come back out, and it'll also go to Boston, it says. So we're going to put that in Boston, and these 5 Continentals have to sit here because it's only anything above 5. Now we go to paroles. And paroles is also, this is, it's an even swap for the British and the rebels, but there's no British units in the prisoner of war box. It's all Continentals, so they will remain in the prisoner of war box. I'd like to see that. And so now we go into the unit purchase phase, remembering that Hessian units must be purchased first. And we do have one in here, and they cost 1 each. And I've got 8 pounds left, so let's go ahead and spend 1. And that'll get this Hessian out, because we know we're going to want to reinforce. Now that we have these nice new loyalist units over here. Alrighty, so let's look first and foremost at, well, we actually have a Continental army down here in Piedmont, Carolina. And we don't want that. We also have smugglers in the Chesapeake Bay, which are going to bring in more Continentals. And we have a smuggler in Cape Fear, which is going to bring in Continentals. Or a Continental. So we definitely want to do something about these two states and possibly Pennsylvania, because remember, it is a target state. Now, Pennsylvania and Virginia do have the horse units that I can move around, and I haven't been doing that. And I probably should, so that's something to remember. That'll help us hopefully defend those states. So this is a wilderness county. It's a stronghold, so that's good for us. The Continental is a strength 2 there. The Hessians are a strength 2. We already have Hessians in Carolina, so I'm going to bring this guy into here. Remember, I've already paid for him, so I'm not going to deduct any more money. So we're even here now. And we have this nice strong, we have the Loyalist unit and we have this British foot unit that are both strong in, well, this guy's stronger in wilderness, but they're both strong in farmland as well. So and the white band foot would cost us 2. That gold band Loyalist would only cost us 1. So, of course, he's only a 2 in the wilderness, but still. I am going to bring this Loyalist unit out and put him with the Hessian unit. So that'll give us a total of 4. Oops, that'll give us 4 strength points against that Continental Army. And he cost, I said 1. So we have 6 pounds left. Now, like I said, one thing I am considering doing is moving these units in Quebec down, and there's 2 ways to do that. One is through a forced march, which has risks, because when you force march a unit, you have to check to see if it survives the forced march into the state. So there's a chance that we could lose those units temporarily. They would simply go back into the forced pool, but that would take them out of the game for at least 1 turn. The other way to do it, we would wait towards the end of the turn and actually pay to do a naval transport and transport them somewhere else. That would mean that we would have to, if you look at the Royal Gazette here, it tells us that would cost 1 pound each to move those out of Quebec. So that would be 2 pounds I would have to leave to move them. And then in addition, if I want to try to raise any loyalty in any of these states, I would also have to set aside some money for that. I'm not too worried about that this turn, I don't think. It's going to depend on how these battles go. Pennsylvania and Virginia are sitting at 6, which is not terribly bad, but it's livable now for me, I think, with what little money I have. So I don't know. We'll still think about this when we get back to forced march. So let's remember we do have those up there. Oh boy! All right. So we do have this nice white band foot for 2 pounds, and we're definitely going to need, I think, definitely going to need some more units, I think, in Virginia, because I don't like the looks of having these 2 smugglers sitting out here. So we have a town fort here, strength 3, farmland down here. I'm going to pay the 2 pounds. That's going to take us down to 4. I'm going to bring this foot unit into, I think, this farm county. And we have 2 units here. Yeah. So, and we still have, yeah. Pennsylvania's looking, I'm not too concerned about Pennsylvania right now. I know I probably should be. More concerned about these 2 states down here. So I'm going to, this is a town fort. We're looking pretty good in Hampton Roads. I think I'm going to spend 1 pound to bring out this foot unit. That'll take us down to 3. And we are going to put this unit... Where are we going to put this unit? And something else I could do, and this was made, someone made this point over at Board Game Geek. I think it was Wes again who mentioned this, but we could actually put units into New York to kind of, if there is a major campaign, to kind of maybe put the brakes on that. So maybe throw a sacrificial unit or two up here to try to at least deaden some of the impact of a major campaign should that occur. Now, it won't necessarily stop a major campaign because they could sweep anything out of there, anything out of New York that I have, and actually continue on and continue outside New England. So it's not a guarantee you'll stop them, but it does help. And honestly, what I would like to do is march these units down into New York if I can. That would certainly help. They're pretty strong units. But in the meantime, so this guy... Oh, let's see. He's good in towns, and he's okay in farmland, so we do have farmland here. We're looking pretty good here. We could put him in here. That's tempting because that would take us to a strength 6 in Piedmont here. Could put him here because that would put us up to a strength 6 in Charlestown. Could also put him in here to help knock this continental out. But he's not that great in wilderness, so I don't think I want to do that. I think I'm just going to put him... I'm also tempted to throw him in one of these counties, like I said, just to kind of hopefully lessen some of the strength points up here. But do I wait or do I do it now? I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna put this unit in Charlestown, and that leaves us this one loyalist unit with 3 pounds to spend, and he would cost, he's a gold band foot, so it looks like it would cost us 1 pound to bring him out, which would leave us 2, which would be enough to transport these 2 units. So you know what I'm going to do? I am going to spend 1 pound to bring out that unit, and I am going to put him in New York. I'm going to put him up here in Massachusetts Shore. Let's go ahead and start that, because you know if we can do something about this, we're looking pretty good. So we're going to put him in Massachusetts Shore. We're down to 2 pounds. I'm going to try to hang on to those 2 pounds to get these units out of Quebec. So that's our purchase, our deployment. And now we come to unit movement, and so I believe, let's see, do we want to move anybody? And this is where we can move units around within the state to any county in the state at no cost. So basically it's a good opportunity to shuffle units around. So I could build up or beef up what's going on up here. Again, strength 2, I got a strength 4. We do have a continental army coming in, we know that. So I'm going to leave everything as is here in Carolina. I think we're good in Virginia. It's tempting to move this guy to Piedmont and maybe bring this guy down to South Side. That would give us a 4 strength in Piedmont and a 4 strength now in this farmland, so I think that's a smart thing to do. We'll leave these as is. I think we're okay here. Yeah, we'll just leave this as is, and I think we're okay here. And I could move this guy's strength 4, which is stronger up in the town, the fort here. So But he is a 3. No, yeah, he is a 3 in the wilderness, so that's good. But I don't think anything really... Let's do that. Let's bring this guy up into the fort because he is stronger there. And let's swap these two around because the Hessian is 2 in the wilderness and this British foot is 2 in farm. So let's do that. And now we come to force march. Beware of Lee. I don't think Lee is out anymore. He might be up here. Arnold's out. It doesn't matter anyway. Well, it would matter if I try to move these units into New York. The Lee unit, I think, might be able to stop that, but I don't think Lee's even in here. No, these are all Continentals. These are all committees of safety in here, so we don't have to do it. So yeah, Lee's not out. So I'm not worried about Lee. So I could try to force march these units out of Quebec, and they would be going into New York, which is considered an adjacent state to Quebec. So there would be no modifier for the force march. If it were going to a state that were not adjacent, then you'd have to add +1 to that roll, but it's not. So it'd be a straight roll on the D6. So and the unit would survive on a roll of 1 through 5. So it's only on the 6th that we would lose those units. So I am tempted to bring both of these units into Massachusetts shore. That's farmland, so that would add 6 to the already 2 that's there. So that'd be 8 strength points in the Massachusetts shore, and that would really, really, really go a long way to stopping anything bad from spilling out of New England. The question is, do I want to do it now? So what if I do it now and there's a major campaign and it's in New England, then I won't feel so bad. But if I do this and then lose them, I'm going to have to pay to bring them out, and they are expensive. This blue band, well, he's a blue band foot, so he has 2 pounds. Do we risk it? Do we risk it? Man, I don't know. It'd be a roll for each one, so it's possible that only one would make it, so that would give us a strength 5. You know what? Let's risk it. Let's do it. Let's see if I'm going to march these guys to Massachusetts shore. So we'll start by rolling for this blue band foot unit and see if he survives. So 1 through 5, he makes it to Massachusetts shore, and he does. So he's now here. And this loyalist unit, does it make it to Massachusetts shore? He also makes it to Massachusetts shore, so that's good. So we now have marched those units out of Quebec and into New York. Excellent. So now I have that 2 pounds to play with later on if I need to use it. So that worked out really good. British horse action, so now we can move our horse units around. I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to leave everybody right where they're at. I think they're in good position to help defend where they're at, so we won't do that. And now we go to place George Washington. So here we place George Washington in the state with the most British player units. And so we take a look here, and it's in these 3 middle states. So in Virginia, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have, I think, 5 in Pennsylvania, and we have 4 in New York. So Washington is going to remain in Virginia because we do have 6 units there. And that will take us to the first battle phase. So, starting with New England. There are units, finally, there are British units in New England. But there's not a battle there because we're not in the same county. Not a battle in New York because there are no opposing units in a county. Pennsylvania, we're good. Virginia, we're still good. Carolina, we have our first battle in Piedmont. So, bring out our battle marker here. This Continental Army to the battle box. Our Loyalist unit. And our Hessians. And here we go. So, I'm going to grab my notes again because we want to make sure we get our militia call for militia roll right. Because I see Hessians there, and we know what that means. We're going to lose a... We're going to get a -1 modifier, but it's also a stronghold, so we're going to get a +1, so it's going to be a 0. But the new thing here is that the fact that Vermont is pro-British, that we'll get a +1 to the roll. So we get a +1 for the stronghold, a +1 for Vermont being pro-British, and a -1 because there are Hessians in the state. And I think it's in the state. I'm going to double check this again. I always question myself. If a battle has any Indian or Hessian units, okay, so we don't subtract them because there's well, there is a Hessian involved. What am I saying? Yeah, not just in the state. So there is a Hessian in the state over here, but there's also one in the battle, so it is -1. So the net is a +1 for us because we have Vermont. So it'll be a roll with a +1, and Carolina's loyalty is currently at 10. So we mark that at 10, and we roll. No, wait a minute. See, I'm still getting ahead of myself here. I think the first thing that I forgot to do was check for French intervention. And there is no French intervention. That would only occur if it were taking place down here in Charlestown, because it's a blue die county. This is not a blue die county, so we're good. We're good. And now I roll and add 1. So we roll. That's not good. Not good. So 1 + 1 is 2. So we get 1, they get 2. All right. And we fight. So we are in the wilderness, and we are the attackers. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for us. So it is 5, and they have 2 + 2 is 4. So it's just a percentage of 5 divided by 4, which is going to put them on the 100% column. And we roll and see what we get. Or see what they get. We'll roll their blue die. They get a 5, so it's defender retreats with a possibility of pursuit. They were defending, so they will retreat. And look at our priorities here. And what county were we in? Piedmont here. Okay, so they retreat to a county containing friendly units. They can't do that. Retreat to a county containing units on both sides. They cannot do that. Don't think they can retreat. I think they're eliminated because they can't go this way. They can't go this way. It is in the wilderness, but I think it has to be. I think it's wilderness in the lowest. I don't know. It's okay. Here we go. If the battle took place in a wilderness or in the lowest numbered county of the state, then the retreating rebel forces are not eliminated but scatter into the woods. So this Continental will not be put into the prisoner of war box. It just means he's going to go into the force pool because this was a wilderness battle, and they get to do that. So this comes back, and our units hold Piedmont. Now that would have been a loyalty, and it will be a loyalty increase. I was going to say Washington's there, but this is Carolina, so we will get an increase of. We won the battle, so we will get the increase in Carolina. So this will go back up to 11. And let's see, am I missing anything else? Nope. All right. That was that. So we reset all this. And I think that's it. I think that's the end of the first battle phase. So that's going to take us up to the Police Rebels phase. Let's make darn sure. Yep, I don't see anything else, so here we go. So we're going to roll for the committees of safety, and then we'll do the Continentals. So this is where we roll a d6 and place one of these cause units. And this is the random placement. So this is not a reinforcement, this is a random placement of this cause unit. So we'll bring one of these out, and we'll see where he goes. State number 3, so that's Pennsylvania. Remember, it's state, not C-zone. So, and where in there will he go? This is also random. County number 3, which is down here. So, Quaker County. That's good. That means there'll be no die roll for militia there. And now we bring out our well, now we go to the continental placement. And yeah, I'm just looking at the rules here real quick. There was a blurb about the this FM cause unit, but he's not out yet. So we now will roll to see where we start placing the continentals. Starting with C-zone number 3. I'm not going to bring that out yet. Well, yeah, I will. Let's just go ahead and stick it over here. Just to remind me that I started at 3. And I'm going to shuffle these up. All right, and now there's nothing in 3, so we go to 4, nothing in 4, so we'll go to 5. We'll bring out 2 of these. We'll try to bring out 2 of these. There's 1, 2. All right, and this first all right. I'm going to roll for where they go. So the first one's going to go into County 5, Hampton Roads. And the second one, ooh, also to, yeah, I don't know why I looked at that. I knew it would go to Hampton Roads. Interesting. Okay, moving right along. We have one in C-zone 6, so we'll see where this one will go. Four, County 4, which is up here, where we just had a battle, I believe. They really want to take that county from me. And we go back up to C-zone 1, there's nothing. We go to C-zone 2, so 2 more. There's that Lee unit that we had talked about. And Lee will go to county number 1. And this Continental will go to county number 2. Interesting. Okay. That brings us back to 3. And that's the placements. Now we'll move Washington. We'll go to the state with the most continental French units. So the most continental units, I think, in the middle states, of course. This is not under consideration. So between New York, Pennsylvania, and Virginia, I think it's going to be Virginia. Yeah, so he's going to stay in Virginia. Turn Benedict Arnold. We saw that Arnold is out there, but there's no opportunity to turn him yet. So we go to the second battle phase. And starting at the top, nothing in New England, nothing in New York, nothing in Pennsylvania, but there is in Virginia. So we'll bring our battle marker out. These 2 Continentals. And we had these 2 British foot units. And as you can see, this is a blue die county. That means there's a chance for French intervention. So the French fleet is in Boston. And that means our die roll has to be, I think it can be a 4, 5, or 6 this time. Let's make sure. So we're going to roll a d6, subtract -1 if it's shadowed, which it is. If it's in Boston, it will intervene on a modified roll of 4, 5, or 6. Okay, yeah, so they're trying to get a 4, 5, or 6. And we are shadowing, so let's see if they intervene. So just to remember what we're doing here, I'm going to bring these out of the box just just for a second. Okay, so they need to roll a 4, 5, or 6, but there's a -1 because we're shadowing, so let's see what they roll. They roll, well, they do. They roll a 5, -1 is 4, but that's good enough for an intervention because it's a 4. So we bring the French fleet to note that they are intervening, and then what happens to my ship? I think it just goes back to the in-harbor box. So yeah, we'll place that back in harbor. And so further reading, if the French fleet does intervene, place the French fleet in the sea zone corresponding to the state, which is in this case 5. And then next, place the French army in the rebel stack in that battle. No matter where on the map it is, unless it's in the prisoner war box. Well, it's not anymore, so they come out, they go to the battle, which is not good for us. And okay, that's it. So they do intervene. And no, looking for modifiers for this call for militia. It's Virginia, which is currently at 6. We bring this to 6, and Washington's there, but he will not influence this militia call, and it's just a straight roll. So let's see what we get. Over high numbers, we get a 5. That's not horrible. So that's we each get 2. So we get 2, they get 2. And this time they are the attackers. So, and now they got now they got the French there too. And wow, look at that. So we're in a fort, so it's the full 8th strength of that French unit. So it's 8, 10, 12, 14 strength points. 14, and we have, I thought we had a lot, but we don't. We have 7 plus 2 is 9. Not good. It could be worse. That's going to place them on the 150% column. And let's see if our luck holds out here. So they attack. And we roll a 5. Defender retreats with the possibility of pursuit. So, let's see. Let's look at the retreat parties now. Let's see. And I'm looking for the, you know what? So, okay, before I do that, though, I just noticed, I think this is a case where I probably should have moved this horse unit down. Yeah. So that this is, and I forgot about this again, it's Rule 8.4, British horse reaction. So you can now move any horse unit from any county in the state to help with that battle. And so we're going to, let's see, do we do a do-over? I think we're just going to roll it over. I totally forgot this, but he can move down here, so we're going to move him, and we're going to do this again. I mean, the results could be a lot worse. I probably should have stayed with that because it's a high roll. But we're not, because I definitely wanted to move that horse unit in. So it still would have been 14. But instead of 9, we would have had 12. And so it's probably not going to make a whole lot of difference here. Yeah, it will bring him down a column, though. So it could, in theory, eliminate him if we get really lucky. But I definitely wanted to do that. And I've got to be careful about remembering to do that when I can. So, well, let's see how the battle goes. And we still roll a 5, and it's still the same result, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. So, all right. So we can retreat. I'm pretty sure we're going to go to this county, but let's make sure we do it right. So the British players are retreating and the French fleet is present in the sea zone adjacent to the state where the British are retreating. Then we apply special result in 8.10.2. So well, this is a little different. So we are in the sea zone where the French fleet is located. So it's turn, see what this means. I think this is the first time we've had this in this game. So 8.10.2 states, effects of the French fleet on British retreat. If the French fleet is in sea zone adjacent to the state where the British are retreating, 1. Any British unit retreating from a blue die county is permanently removed from the game. This is what happened at Yorktown. Any British unit retreating from a little stronghold. No, that's not us. Sadly it's number 1 because we're in a blue die county. So what is this? Is had to move that horse unit, didn't I? This is horrible. So what this means is these 3 units are just eliminated. They are prevented from going anywhere. So they have to come out of the game. They're going to come up here. That is brutal. I think our luck might be changing here for the worst. So yeah, okay. Nothing I can do about that. So the battle marker comes back. And these units stay in Hampton Roads. Yeesh. Alright. I really regret moving that horse unit. But I would have moved him anyway, I just forgot, so it's the way it should have happened. So Washington is in Virginia. We lost the battle. So we're going to lose a loyalty point there, and I don't know if Washington, let's see, we never get a +1 if he's there, and I don't think he affects it if they win, so it says here no. Yeah, so they get a +1 in Virginia, or we get a -1 I should say, because they won that battle. Alright. And we reset everything, yep. And we move along. Boy, that was bad. That was horrible. Okay. Moving on to Carolina. So this is, let's bring this battle marker out. Bring this Continental unit back into the battle box. Our units come out. And this is a stronghold, so we'll get to add +1. Carolina is at 11. We'll move this to 11 so we remember that. And so we get that +1 to the call for militia. Ooh, that's nice. So that's we get 2, they get nothing. They are still the attackers, so it is, and did I say wilderness? Yeah, wilderness, so it's 1, and we have 2, 4, 6, so it's 1 divided by 6 to get our percentage, which should be a very small number. So it's less than 50%, and they attack. Let's hope they roll a 1. They roll a 6, which is good for them. It's an exchange. We haven't done an exchange in a while, but basically it's we're going to win because we have more strength points. So pay attention to the strength points on each side, including militia. The side with the lower strength points is completely eliminated and loses. So they had 1 strength point total, so they are eliminated, which means they go to the prisoner war box. And now we must absorb those losses, and we will do that with our militia track. So remember, you can use these to absorb some of those points. So there's 1, and that's all we need to do, so we won. We move this back, move our units back to Piedmont, and now we reset this. We'll reset this. And we won in Carolina, and that will Carolina, right? Yeah, so that Carolina's loyalty goes up. Did I move Carolina's loyalty up again? We lost in Virginia. No, I moved it down. Never mind, I did it. All right, so that goes up one. We did win that battle. Trying to confuse myself. So, reset. We're good here. We had a terrible loss and we had a nice victory here. I think that's it. I think that's all the battles in the second battle phase. And it looks like it was. So now we come down to the conduct rebel campaigns phase. Oh, let's hope for something. Let's hope for hold on a second. Let's bring this back up, because it looks like I missed this Committee of Safety battle in Pennsylvania. So let's not forget that. It wouldn't have mattered with the French because it's not in the Blue Dye County. But let's do this battle. We were almost done. So we'll bring this Cause unit will come to the battle box. The Hessians come to the battle box. This is in Quaker County. There will be no modified roll, no call for militia. And I think, so I believe it's just, turn to this rule real quick too, because this is a, we don't really, so it's a no militia area, and basically it means that we do not roll for militia, so the battle proceeds without any militia present. So it's simply strength points of the units. So here it is, the Cause unit was attacking in farmland, so that Cause unit has a strength of 1. So it's 1, and we have a strength in farmland of 3, it looks like. So it's just 1 divided by 3 to get that percentage. Again, it's on the less than 50% column. They are attacking, and it's an exchange. Interesting. So again, an exchange is we had more strength points, so we win, they lose, they go back to the force pool because that's where they go when they're eliminated, and we cannot subtract the, what is it? I'm make sure that, yeah, it's a 1, right? 1, okay, yeah. So we have to subtract 1 from our side. Can't do it without losing the Hessian unit totally, so the Hessian gets to stay. He'll go back to Quaker County, and we win that battle. So this is in Pennsylvania. We do get the loyalty increase in Pennsylvania, so that'll go to 7 because we won that battle and there's no Congress or Washington present. All right, now I think we're done with the second battle phase. Let's look again because none here, none in New York, Pennsylvania. Okay, I think this time we're good. I think we've got all the battles in the second battle phase. Now we come down to conduct rebel campaigns. And if you'll remember, this is where we're going to be rolling 2d6 to see if we get a major campaign or 2 minor campaigns. So here we go. Hold on. We've been really lucky here so far. So let's see what happens this time. 2 and a 5. So these are going to be minor campaigns again. And I'll go to my notes here again, to my minor campaigns, because I want to refer to everything here. There it is. All right, so what do we roll? 2 and a 5. So these are states 2 and 5. That's going to be New York. And state 5 is Carolina. This is where our 2 minor battles will take place. And first thing we do is we place our reinforcements. Remember, this is there's a priority here into where they will go. So 2 states are campaigning. Reinforcements are 1 randomly selected continental and 1 Cause unit. So I'm going to grab a continental unit and a Cause unit. Now the continental goes in the lower number state, so that's New York. And we will place him first in this order. Number 1, he would go into the lowest number rebel occupied county. That's not valid, so we go number 2, the lowest numbered empty county. No, that's not going to work. So then the lowest numbered British occupied county in the state. So that has to be the this county, number 1 county, the frontier, so we'll put him in there. And this cause unit goes into, it's the same placement, so it's the same thing. He's going to have to go into this lower county because there's no rebel units there. There are no unoccupied counties, so he's going to go into this over the mountains county. And now we proceed on with these battles. So let's go back up to, I'm going to get this out of the, I'll leave those there for now. The less I do to confuse myself, the better. Okay, so it's just an attack in, and it's the same thing. I'm looking at my notes again because it's a priority here, but usually when they're in the same stack, there's not much thought required. So let's bring this battle marker out. And we will bring this Mohawk unit into the battle box and this Continental unit. And let's see, there's a couple of things to consider here. One, Congress is there. And this is, where is this at? This is a wilderness and it is a stronghold. So let's turn back to our militia cheat sheet. So we are going to get a +1 for this being a stronghold. Put my notes down. So it's +1 for a stronghold. There's an Indian unit involved, so that's going to be a -1. And Congress is there. I don't think Congress has been a while. Congress has been missing so long that I don't know if I forgot if they had an effect on the call for militia. I don't think they do, but I want to make sure. No, I think they're just going to have an effect when it comes to battling. I think that they'll shift the column in the battle. I don't think, yeah, there it is. They'll shift the battle. Okay, so no effect on the militia roll. So it is +1 for the stronghold, -1 because we are using an Indian unit. But something else I need to check is Vermont is over here. They're now pro-British. And it says that if Vermont is pro-British, we get to add +1. So it looks like we get 2 +1s and a -1. So overall, it's going to be +1 to this roll for the call for militia, which we will definitely take. So let's clear this and see what we get. Oh wait, we got a New York. We got to mark their loyalty. It's at 9. We'll bring our little marker to 9, and we will roll. And we add 1 to this roll. Wow, that's excellent. So we can't go any higher than that. We get 2, they get 1. And we are, let's see, they're attacking, and this is in a wilderness. Okay, so they get 2 + 1 is 3. So it's 3, and we are at 3 + 2 is 5. And that'll give them rather the 50% column, which is good. Let's hope they roll a 1. And they roll a 2. Oh, that's just as good as a 1 in this case. They're eliminated. So attackers eliminated. It means this Continental goes back into the prisoner of war box. That is really filling up nicely with Continental armies over there. Our Mohawk unit will come back. And, oh, you know what I didn't do? I just said the Congress is sitting there. And I believe that would have shifted this combat result. Check 1 column to the right. And I don't think it has to be the same county. Yeah, same state. Okay, so if the battle takes place in a state where Congress is in the leadership box, then all battles take place are fought with 1 column shift favoring the rebels. In this case, that would be to the right. So that's not as good as I thought. They're not eliminated. They retreat with the possibility of pursuit. So let's bring them back. That was in, we're still in, oh, I can't move the board anymore. So we're still in this county. And if we look at where they go, I think they're going to scatter because they really can't go anywhere, and it is a wilderness county, so let's just double check that. Battle takes place in the wilderness or lowest number county, then the retreating rebel forces are not eliminated but scattered to the woods. But first let's see if they can actually retreat. So they can go to a friendly unit county, an empty county, or a county with both sides. So yeah, there's none of those. They're going to scatter, which means they will go back into the force pool. So we still win. That's good. Let's bring... No, we already did that. We'll reset this. And I still think we get the... Do we get the loyalty increase in New York? Congress is there. I don't think that affects that. Let's see. Yeah, George Washington would affect this, but not Congress. So we do get that +1 to New York. So I'm going to move New York up 1. And I think that's it for New York anyway. All right. And then the next minor campaign was in Carolina. So let's bring the battle marker to to this first county. It's our Hessians fighting this cause unit in the wilderness. And so there is a Hessian unit involved, so we are going to get the -1 to this militia roll. Carolina is currently at 12 though, so that's going to be good. Okay. Let's roll for our militia. 5 -1 puts us on the 4 column. We get 2, they get 1. And this is they are attacking in the wilderness. So they're going to get 2 + 1 is 3. And we are defending it. 3 + 2 is 5. So they are on the 50% column. And they attack. Let's hope for that 1 again. Nope. No. Okay, defender retreats. So these Hessians are retreating. So let's look at the retreat priority again. It's not number 1. Number 2, retreat to a county containing only friendly units. So they can retreat. They can go to county 2 over here, or county 3, 4 over here, because we do have friendly units there. So they will do that. And then it says we rolled, I don't know, I thought this was a pursuit, but it's not. So they can retreat. And that ends the battle. So they win the battle. Carolina loses a loyalty point. And I believe that is that. I'll take these out. Well, that wasn't good. So, yeah. That concludes the minor campaigns, I believe. I will double check. I don't think they would continue to do anything else in a minor campaign. I think they would fight the battle where they're at. So, yes, the battle ends. Minor campaigns. So, and proceed to the other state if necessary. Well, we did that. So that ends the campaign phase. So let's see. Yep, that'll take us to the logistics phase. All right, so that didn't work out so good. We had a horrible battle in Virginia, and then I really surprised we lost this one in Carolina. That was bad, not good. So we can trade with the enemy here, and so I did get these units successfully out of Quebec and into New England. So I don't need to save this money for anything. I could pay to transport units, but I now don't know if I want to do that. I don't think I do. Well, let's do one thing at a time here. So let's do trading with the enemies. And we can spend money to raise loyalty. Virginia's the lowest, well, second lowest. New England's, I don't think we're going to worry about them too much. So I could boost this 1 or 2 at the most, because remember it's lobster units. And there are 1 in each of 2 counties in Virginia. So I could pay these £2 and move this up to 7. I'm going to pay £1 and move it up 1. So we're going to move Virginia up to 6. And that's all I'm going to do there. And I will do naval transport. And they're just saying watch out for abandoned units. So I don't want to transport anybody. Or do I want to pay that other unit or that other pound just to get rid of it and boost Virginia up 1 more? Well, what's our target state going to be next? Or New York. And their loyalty is at 10, which isn't too bad. Forgot to reset these. Can also boost Carolina back up to their maximum. No, you know what? I'm gonna pay this pound and boost Virginia 1 more. Yeah, let's just do that. And then that takes us to naval reset. So we move all of our in-harbor units to at sea. Let's hope they stay that way. And reconvene Congress if it's in flight. And it's currently still in New York, so we don't have to do that. Takes us to the Liberty phase. Continental enlistments, that's not this turn. Now we determine state control. Well, it's not looking so good this turn, is it? So we do hold the target state, which is Pennsylvania. And we hold New York, but that's it. We do not control Virginia. We no longer control Carolina. So, ouch, not good. So this Liberty Bell will go up 1. That'll take it up to 2. That hasn't moved in a while. Okay, I think that's that. So now we're going to perform our last minute loyalty modifications per state, starting with New England. So, and I'm going to turn to the rule book to make sure we don't forget any little detail on adjusting loyalties, because there's a lot to look at here. So starting with New England, state has no units of either side in. It's not British controlled. It's not controlled only by the Continentals. No one is present in New England. No Washington or Congress. No Jefferson. No Indians. Are Indians or Hessians in? No, it's just these 3 units. So there's just no change in New England. New York, we look at New York. There is going to be a change here. So we do control it. So that would give us a +1. There's an Indian unit, so that's a -1, so that washes that out. And then Congress is there, so that's another -1, so it's a net of -1 for New York. And remember that there are Hessians and Indians, but it's a -1 total. So +1, -1, -1 is a -1 to New York's loyalty. Let's see. Moving right along, this takes Pennsylvania. We do control Pennsylvania, so that's +1. There are Hessians there, so that's -1. So it looks like no change in Pennsylvania. Come down to Virginia. There are units on both sides, so that's kind of balances each other out. But Washington is there, so that's a -1 overall for Virginia. So Virginia comes down 1. Now I feel better about spending that last pound to boost that up. Carolina is, again, it's units on both sides. but there are Hessians there, so it's going to be a -1 overall to Carolina, so they're going to come down 1. And I believe that's it for the state loyalty modifications. We still control Quebec. Looks like we will for the rest of the game, so that's good. Check for victory or defeat. Well, we're still a long way away from 9 with this Liberty Bell, so we're still doing okay. That wasn't a great turn, but overall we're doing okay. So that'll take us to the random events phase. Random events. And remember, now we're rolling. We are rolling 3d6 on this table to get our event, and no, that's just, look at that. That is painful to see. That is painful. Those units are gone for the rest of the game. So let's clear this, and we're going to be rolling 3d6. And we roll, oh, that's a very high number. We roll 12, 17. So 17 on the random events chart. Hessian atrocities, and remember, this is where we were. I say we. I'm the only guilty party here. I was forgetting that these are very specific atrocities. So this is for the Hessians only, and 15.8 is what I'm looking up. So 15.8 says atrocities. So randomly pick a state. Roll again if the result is 6. So let's see what state we're dealing with here. And we are dealing with state 2, which is New York. And I'm going to just drag this up to remember that we're dealing with New York. What does that say? So if it has one of those designated armies, in this case that's Hessian, reduce the loyalty by -2. So, or otherwise no event. Well, unfortunately, there are Hessians in New York. So, ouch. New York's loyalty will go down by 2. They were at 9, so now they're at a 7. Okay, that wasn't good. Get this out of the way. There's more events to look at. And next is war in India. I don't like the sound of that already. You know it's going to be units, ships, or other units being diverted somewhere else. So war in India, 15.2. 15.2, remove 1. Okay, we remove 1 white band unit permanently. Okay, this isn't good either. So we find a white band unit, and he is permanently removed from the game. White band unit. Well, there's one in New York. There's one in Pennsylvania. I don't see any in Carolina. There's one in Virginia. I don't think there's any in our force pool. So it's going to be one of these 3 up here. I think it's my choice. Remove. Yep, just says remove. Remove unit. So, okay, where do I want to remove 1 white band foot unit? I don't want to remove 1 from anywhere. Wow. So we know our target state coming up in turn 9 will be New York. I'm not taking the one out of New York, so you can forget that. Yeah, I'm going to leave. No, I'm sorry. I said that's the target state for turn 9 will be New England. So that's going to be up here where this mess is. So, well, no, I'm looking over here. So we're looking over here. It is New York. So New York, I'm going to leave alone. I'm not going to pull anybody out of New York. Since they're going to be the target state and this guy's sitting there, he's going to stay there. So we could pull it out of this around Philadelphia area or Piedmont. We do have 2 continental armies in Hampton. We have this huge French army sitting there with them. And honestly, unless they move again, it's going to be near impossible to take back Hampton Roads. So, what to do? Gotta pull one of them. This one's a little stronger. I'm sorry, this one's a little stronger. He's a 4 in Piedmont. And the one in Philadelphia is a 3. You know what? I'm gonna take this one. Like I said, I don't want to take either one of them, but I'm gonna take this one out. Hold on one second. Let me think again, just in case. And the only reason I'm hesitating is because when we go to place Smugglers again and Continentals, this could very well be an area where we deploy Continentals. But you know what? We do still have this horse unit down here that we can move around. I'm going to take this one out. do this mass stack of units that I can no longer access anymore. That's painful to see. All right. So we'll do that. And then we go to our, look at all these events. So the next event is, we better start tracking along to see where we're at. So the next event is Continental's Mutiny, 1513. That sounds promising, right? 1513, Continental Mutiny. Roll a die to determine a state. Roll again if the result is 6 or the state contains no continentals. So looks like we're going to roll until we find a state with continentals. So let's go back and do that. We have them in 1, 4, 1 and 4. I think that's it. Yeah. So let's see if we get a. Well, you know what we should do is 1, 2, 3. It's this state. 4, 5, 6. It's Virginia. Make sure I'm doing this right. Make sure. I think it said roll again if the result is 6 or the state contains no continentals. Yeah, so it's basically telling you to randomly pick a state that has continentals if I'm reading these rules correctly. So 1, 2, 3, it's going to be New England. 4, 5, 6, it'll be Virginia. Let's hope it's New England. It is. So this is where whatever is going to happen is going to happen. And it says roll 2 dice for each continental army in that state. Add +2 for each British player unit in that state. Add +5 to the die roll if George Washington is in that state. Well, he's not. Add +3 if it's Thomas Jefferson. He's not. All modifications are cumulative. And so what we're looking for is if the modified die roll is lower than the loyalty rating of that state, then the unit mutinies and is placed in the rebel force pool. Raise the state's loyalty by +2 for each continental army that successfully mutinies. If more than 3 continentals in a state successfully mutiny in a turn, remove the French Army Navy from the game. This is huge, my friends. This is huge. I've been lucky this entire game, and if the luck holds here, this could potentially put the nail in the coffin for the rebels, I think. So let's look at this again. We want to do this right. So it looks like we're going to be rolling 2 d6. I'm going to scratch this out on some paper so we do it right. So we're getting, it's +2 for each British player unit in the state. Now it doesn't say anything about the type of unit. So we've got 3 units in there. So I think that's going to be 6, right? So that's going to be +6 for having 3. This is unreal if this works out good, because I just decided to bring those units into New England. So let's see. Or actually, yeah, New England. So let's see. And then I lost my place here. So it's +2 for, and then +5 if Washington's there, but he's not. +3 if Jefferson's there, he's not. And that's it. That's all the modification we do. And so the loyalty rating, this is the problem. This is where they get me. The loyalty rating of New England is currently at 1. So, if the modified roll is lower than, oh, there's just no way this is going to happen. Then if the modified roll is lower than the loyalty rating of the state, then the unit mutinies is in place. Yeah, so this isn't going to happen because we're adding. looking at this again because I really want to do this right. Roll it. So it seems to be like you're adding points for British player units that you're trying to increase the die roll, not lower it. So you'd think that would be a good thing to have British units there. So 2 die for each continental army. So yeah, it's 2 dice for each. +2. So we add our +2 for each. So it's going to be +6 cumulative. I just don't know why. Yeah, so it is your +5 from Washington. And +5. I don't know why having British units here would. I guess because the British presence would be less of an incentive to mutiny is what I'm thinking. So just don't think this is going to matter for us then because the loyalty is at 1. So they would have to roll a 1 basically, which you can't do on 2d6 anyway. So, well, I don't think you have to roll anything. Would have been a lot more useful if I hadn't brought those units into New England then. So it's impossible for us to roll lower than a 1. So no, this is going to be a non-event for us. So that went from exciting to depressing pretty quick. It's just going to stay as it is there. So that's going to be a non-event basically for us. Rats. All right. So now we're going to go to Loyalty Oath. 1514. I'll be honest with you, I haven't done this part of the random events table in so long. I don't even remember what this one is. Okay, Loyalty Oath. Local British commanders demand that harmless fence-sitting neutrals openly swear loyalty to King George III. The effect is to drive thousands of otherwise uninvolved Americans into the arms of their rebel neighbors. The British player must choose one state, player's choice, and reduce the loyalty by 5. The chosen state must have a loyalty of at least 5 to begin with. If no such state is available, you must pick whichever state has the highest loyalty and reduce it to 0. So, okay. Of course, this one actually works because we do have states that with higher than 5 loyalty. This is not a good event for us at all. So we're going to pick a state with a loyalty that's higher than 5. We have 3 to choose from, and we're going to subtract 5 from that state. Well, the only one that makes sense to do is Carolina because it sits at 10 right now. So looking to make sure we really want to do this. I think we're going to have to. So reduce its loyalty by 5. So we go from 10 down to 5 in Carolina. Yikes. All right, well, that's what it says to do. So that's what we're going to do. And now we go to the next event, which is Anti-French Hysteria, 1515. Patriots respond to their French allies with riots, lawsuits, and anti-Catholic insults. If the French army is in a state, increase that state's loyalty by +1. If it's in Boston, increase New England by +1. If it's not in a state, treat it as no. Well, it is in a state because it came out and smacked us in the mouth down here in Virginia pretty hard. So they're in Virginia. So we get to increase Virginia's loyalty by +1. And that's going to take Virginia up to, we're just going to put them here, to 7. So that's good at least. It's only 1, but we'll take it. Their loyalty gets increased. And then we go to Dutch smugglers, 1517. I think we've had this before. If there's a smuggler in the Caribbean, let's see, let's go to the Caribbean. We know there's smugglers all over the place down there. If there is a smuggler in the Caribbean, place a smuggler or privateer if one is available. If there's not, it's just smugglers in a sea zone of the player's choice containing less than 2 smugglers. So I have to place a smuggler in a sea zone that is valid. So 2 and 5 are not valid. So to go into 1, 3, 4, or 6. So let's see, this smuggler, where do we want to put him? Remember, this will end up bringing, if we don't take it out, it'll end up bringing a Continental Army into whichever state I place them into. And we know we don't want them to go to the target state, C-Zone 1, or I think it's going to be to New York, I said. So I think we're going to try to keep them out of Zone 1 or 3. There's already one in 6, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just put them in 6. Because we're going to play smugglers again anyway, and if we roll a 6 or a 5 or a 2 now, they will not get placed because you're only allowed to have 2 smugglers maximum. So maybe that'll help us. I don't know. We'll see. So that's all. Whoops. That's all we do for the Dutch smugglers, and then finally we do a Vermont check. So 1520, and as you recall, Vermont is currently pro-British, which just became pro-British last turn, so it's hopefully it'll stay that way. I'd hate to see it change, but I guess it could. So what event number was this? 1520. So we got a 1520. 1520 says roll 1d6 to determine which way Vermont's chaotic double-dealing political establishment lurches this season. So if Congress is in New York when this event occurs, Vermont immediately and automatically goes pro-British. Well, so they are in New York, so there's going to be no change here. This is actually good. Yeah, so that's not going to change. Excellent. So we'll just leave that alone. I don't have to deal with that. And that is going to do it for the random events phase. So we come down to the end of turn. So that's it. That is turn number 8. And it did not go so good for us this time. It was more of like the turns I'm used to playing, and don't tread on me. Actually, what really hurt was this. Well, one, we lost the target state, which was well, no, we didn't lose the target state. We lost our other states. We lost our Virginia and Carolina. We lost two of our other 3 states that we should have had. So we did have the target state, but we didn't have 2 other states. We lost Virginia and Carolina, or at least lost control of those 2 states. So that was not good. And then this little cause unit down here, and really, that was a bad roll. I mean, I think we really should have held on to Carolina. With all these units, we had one committee of safety come in the wilderness and boot us out. And if we'd held on to Carolina, we would have done this. So, but we didn't. We did not. So, let's see. The C zones are filling up. Like I said, when we place these, I can only hope that we roll a 2, a 5, or a 6. And 2, 5, or yeah. So I'm looking again. So wait a second here. Did I have to look at this again, because I'm looking at turn 7. No. Okay, no, we're right. We're going to turn 9 next turn, right? Yeah. Okay, sorry. All right, so anyway, like I was saying, the C zones are filled up, but it's filled up in such a way that if I place smugglers into 2, 5, or 6, they're not going to get placed. It's good and bad. Right now, I'd rather keep C zones 1, 3, and 4 empty, and then hopefully use, well, I can now because none of these got moved. So I'll have a chance of knocking out some of these smugglers. So if these 3 zones stay empty and nothing else gets added, which they wouldn't, then that's going to help with preventing these Continentals from being placed. And there's an awful lot up here in the prisoner of war box. There's actually overall a lot of Continentals on the map, if you count the prisoner of war box. So not a good turn. Could have been worse, I guess. We did see the bell go up to 2. I'll take it going into turn 9. That's still unheard of. Because remember, turn 9 would have been our last turn. Possibly could have been our last turn if things hadn't worked out. So not as bad as it could be. Although we did lose, I think it was 4 units this turn, 5 units, 4 or 5. I think it was 4. Completely removed from the game, so that's not good. That's going to hurt in the long run too. That's not going to be good. So hopefully we can hang on. A little bit of a downturn, but we'll see what happens. That's going to do it for turn number 8. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for sticking around. Hope you come back and see what happens, see how this game turns out, see if we can manage a British victory. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.